And we're live.
Hello.
Hello, everybody.
Today is calm, George. I'm calm, not really. I'm freaking aggravated.
This was definitely not calm George today, but we'll see what happens for the rest of the day.
It's been happy, George, though.
Yeah, that's good.
It's been happy, George. Just, you know, life is,
like a box of chocolates.
Yeah, you never know what you got until the day happens. Oh, let me tell you about it, Claire.
I think we saw it. Me and you must have seen a different Forrest Gump.
Oh no, it's a different movie. Did you see they got somebody? Remember so Tom and I were talking about things that we could talk about in life, like on the stream and stuff like that. I said, let's do like other things. Like that thing in Idaho, that's really interesting.
Yeah, real life stuff.
Real life stuff.
Especially
and we're like that's really interesting, right? And then they go and solve the damn thing today.
So they did, because I didn't see that.
Yeah, I was watching it. That's why when you said, "Oh, can we go late?" I'm like, "Yeah, let's go late," because I'm watching the information of who the killer is, and I was like, "Wow." It's just they haven't given any more information except that they have somebody arrested for it, and that's all they would say about it.
So they've arrested somebody. All right. Well, for those of you who don't know, it's been a big story in the news. I have not really kept up to date, other than I know it's just dominating the news right now.
It was a 28-year-old, I forget his name, but he was in Pennsylvania, and he went to school out there in the I don't know if he went to school in Washington State. Record, so his name is Brian Christopher Kohlberger.
Breaking news. Beep, 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 beep.
Yeah,
beep,
no,
beep.
it was, no, it's real news. I'm looking at it right now. Shh, man. It just was sad. Because it was so crazy to think that this thing could go unsolved for that many,
Well, and to go from zero to solved, usually, well, they probably knew. They just couldn't show their hand, you know?
Right.
So I want to say hello to Alex and
Hello.
Sour Melon Gaming, JD, Barry,
Gareth.
Gorilla, Gareth,
WLM,
and
is that WLM in Cincinnati?
WKRP. Is anybody old enough to remember that one?
In New York. I'm sure somebody is. AMD.
I know some of you guys are somewhere around our age. You know WKRP in Cincinnati.
Wait, so Tom, I would just like to reflect real quick as I sit here in my glory.
Yes.
Okay.
Go ahead.
And tell me what your prediction was at the end of the year.
I think if we check the tape, I was thinking when the market closed at the last day of the year, it was going to be 16,585.
Didn't I say it would stay the same? Do you remember?
Yep.
Hey, John.
Hey, Mr. Caswell. Do you have time
Yep.
to take
I'm going to step out for a second, guys.
George has to take another call. He prepped me that he was going to have to cut out for a minute, but he will be right back. He just has to take care of some quick business. So meanwhile, I haven't read any of this chat, so let me try to catch up. Optimistic for a terrific 2023. You're feeling better than I am, Alex. I'm a little bit nervous for the beginning of 2023, but we definitely want to talk about that today. Good riddance to 2022. Yeah, from a stock market standpoint, that's for sure. And from many other standpoints. I hope we get some big green candles in 2023. That was JD. Bitfarms and Hut don't deserve to be under $1. Pure craziness. Yeah, I mean, did anybody buy anything here on the last trading day of the year? Because I will tell you, I took one last dip on 4 Bitcoin miners today. So we'll see. There's my optimism, Alex. I did buy some before the end of the year, even though I have a sneaking suspicion they're going to torture us for the first quarter of 2023 as well. However, maybe I should predict that every day because my previous prediction did not come true, so love my bull market in 2023. Let's go. Hi, Tom and George. Hey, Gareth. What do you think about Mara in 2 years? The answer to that, my knee-jerk answer to that question is like, ask me in 45 days. I think we'll know what's going on with them. But I will tell you, that's been my answer for 10 months now. So it's getting a little frustrating. I did not buy Marathon today. I was going to actually buy Marathon today, and I didn't do it. And I do... Riot's one of my bigger positions, and there is some crossover. I'm going to do a video on my top 4 and what my line of reasoning is, and I've tried to pick different business profiles and spread the risk a little bit, but obviously they're still all Bitcoin miners, so, you know, if Bitcoin tanks, then eventually it's not going to be good news for any of them. But with Marathon, I mean, I got to believe... You would think that 2 years from now, they're going to be where they wanted to be. In, you know, they said, if you guys remember, originally it was going to be like 13.3 exahash in the middle of 2022 and then 23.3 exahash by the end of 2022. Well, they didn't do anything that even slightly resembles that. I expect them to say that they're still at 7 exahash. I think they have 2 more exahash set up, all ready to go, ready to be energized, which would get them to 9. But based on their production, they certainly did not plug those in December. So if they did, then they did an awful lot of self-curtailment or had the unluckiest month in history. Cleanspark is green today. Yes, we had lots of green. We had a big green day for one time. Still some red. Core Scientific. I'm not sure if anybody's in Core Scientific. I feel like I don't feel good about Core Scientific. Not financial advice, but you guys know my feelings on that one. I think that even if they survive, my sense is there's just going to be nothing left over for the shareholders. So, and that just seems to be the way so many of these reorganizations work out. That and they borrowed. I mean, they borrowed a lot of money, and that is why I think you'll notice that so far to date we only have one bankruptcy, and it's Core Scientific. So something else is going on out there. We'll talk about it on the stream today. I think there's some money behind the money that knows something that's coming, because now, you know, Core Scientific got themselves $1 billion upside down, and that was too much. But, you know, look at what just happened to Argo Blockchain. They're up. I'm going to go to their chart. I mean, they're up.
Hey, everyone, I'm back.
George is back. I mean,
I thought I was busy during the hurricane. That was nothing.
That was amateur hour compared to what's going on. Okay, so this is just, I mean, obviously this has been a monstrously volatile stock, but, you know, they halted trading 2 different times in the last 2 weeks. They halted trading on Tuesday, you know, because they said they had an announcement to make. We were all thinking, you know, well, maybe, I guess that's probably going to be it for them. Well, no, that was not it. So in a week, from their low to their high, they were up 248%. From their low to their close today, they were up 168% in the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 trading days. So, I mean, this is, I did a video on this, and I got a bunch of very wonderful comments that said this video is worthless. So, thanks to all those people. But that was my point of this video, is there's more to come. And sure enough, here we go. Here's a day where, Argo's up another 20% today. And it wasn't just Argo. If you look, Cypher was up 24% today. Iris 13%, Argo 19%. And these are some of the smaller moves. We're going to, I think you can expect massive volatility. So that's one of the things I want to talk about. I think trading in 2023 for me is going to look a little different than 2022 did.
I hope it looks a lot different, Tom. No offense, kid. I hope it looks a lot different for a lot of people. You set yourself up like that one. I'm sorry.
Hey, listen, that is the truth. We were down. I'll do a final thing. I think we were down over 80% on my 10K portfolio. And, that was the worst, absolute worst strategy in the absolute worst year possible. So, unfortunately, but that's what happened. And although I was not down 80% in my personal portfolio, it was not a great year. I know a couple of you guys have told me you managed to make money through all this. So that's outstanding. Drop a comment in the chat if anybody who had a positive year.
Who thought that the market would be what it's been? I mean, what'd you say? It was the third worst market in 50 years?
I was reading an article. If you use the 60-40 rule, which is the old, investors' rule of thumb, 60% equities mirroring the S&P 500 and then 40% bonds, I believe this was either the worst year or the second worst year in the history of that trading strategy. So
that's crazy.
Now, younger people probably don't use that trading strategy at all. Bonds are not really in for retail traders, but if you have a 401k or if you're old school, that was the rule of thumb forever. So, if you did that, you got wrecked this year. If you just sat in the S&P, you got wrecked. If you were in the NASDAQ, everything's down across the board. But what worst of all are the small cap high growth stocks are absolutely they're at depression level year this year. So if you shorted them, you made money.
So speaking of depression, are we in a recession, Tom?
I believe that we are in a recession. So that's another thing that made me laugh. I read another article today, and they're like, oh, we have an inverted yield curve, and, that tends to be a signal or foreshadowing that there's going to be a recession. It's like, I'm sorry, everybody, but we've been in a recession for like 8 months. I don't know who decided we were going to change the definition of what a recession is, but just go to the grocery store, go to the gas pump, you'll know this has been brutal. And if you've been in the stock market, that we're deep into a recession. Is it going to last a couple more quarters? I bet it will, but it's not exactly like a foreshadowing that we have an inverse yield curve and maybe we're going to go into a recession. That's Captain Obvious statement of the year.
I need your opinion on something because everybody's kind of asking the same question. Christian, sorry, I have that. JD and WLM. How often should companies report, like for an example, CleanSpark? How often should companies report when they have a rough 5 days or a couple, bad days with production? I mean, is it because of this age of technology? Should they be reporting more or doing a press release more often than what they're currently doing?
I feel like unless something dramatic has happened, there are a lot of companies in the Bitcoin mining sector in particular, in this industry, this monthly reporting that everybody is now doing, and that was kind of adopted slowly throughout, starting last year, a few people did it. By the end of this year, every company that wasn't kind of on their way to going out of business was doing a monthly operational update. So that, I think, is the bare minimum. There's absolutely no reason. This industry lends itself to just telling everybody. And honestly, they could all do it on the first day of the month, just like Bitfarms does every single month. They know what they did. right? But if they don't know what they did on the first day of the month for last month, then that's a problem. So I would say everybody who's doing once a month. Now, if something dramatic happens,
Sorry, I'm reading the comment. Martin, I can't afford it. Sorry. Go on, Tom.
if something dramatic happens, particularly, if you're core scientific and you're reporting every day, and all of a sudden you go from 50 to 30, but Core stays very active on their Twitter, and that's a stock I'm staying away from anyway at this point, unfortunately. But I think if you report once a month, but you can't just report. You got to really let people know. Like, if you had a very inefficient month, when some of these companies report and their numbers make no sense at all, they got to go a step deeper and say, just tell us what happened. Because you guys know, as investors, if you don't tell us, we are going to assume the worst possible case scenario is going on, wherever our imagination will take us. So they're better off to just let us know, because it's no worse than what we're imagining.
Yeah, it's usually worse. Well, I mean, the great example would probably be Marathon. Oh, and Tom, so Gareth, to answer your question, Tom, I think probably Tom could do an interview with Michael Saylor, I bet you, if he wanted to. But Fred, they pawned us off on a lower level person. And Tom said, I'm not interested in doing an interview with you peons.
So I can go back to them and specifically say, and I didn't do this, so I can. They have a director of communications or whatever the case may be, and I just know nobody at this point with Marathon, nobody wants to hear from that person. No offense to that person. I'm sure he's a wonderful individual, but people want to hear from Fred. So. Right. I haven't responded to them, and the holidays came, and I really should have responded by now. I'm going to let them know, if you're willing to put Fred on, we'd love to have you. So
I think I should jump in on that interview.
That I would like to see.
Yeah, I don't think Fred would like that. Fred, do you remember when we sat down at the Bitcoin conference last year? I was sitting here, and you were sitting there.
Do you remember how you didn't do any of
the only thing Fred did right, you want to know what Fred did right? Tommy did one thing right, and you want to know what that was?
What?
When Bitcoin was high, he raised a ton of cash.
Yeah. Yes.
But it was hot, and a lot of people missed that opportunity like Core Scientific. They missed it by like 1 week or 2 weeks.
Yeah. Marathon raised some of the best convertible debt on pretty much almost the exact best day they possibly could have done that. In fact, I'm sure there were people furious 10 days later, because if you guys remember, then they were into a scandal right away. And so, but you're right. But that leaves the door open for them to be successful. That was a huge, that's why the Marathon question is always so hard to answer. And I did do a specific video on it. And I still feel like people don't know where I stand on this. I'm very neutral on Marathon. They've set themselves up to succeed. They're just not doing it yet, and they rely on a lot of other partners to get to where they're going, and that's a part of their problem. And maybe there's an internal problem, because clearly they didn't get where they were going. Or maybe they just didn't get there because Bitcoin's at $16,000, and the last thing they wanted was 23 exahash. So I think the questions... all the same questions remain on Marathon that we had at the beginning of this year. The trading year is now over, and all the same questions remain in my mind.
And ID said convertible debt is considered the worst form of raising capital.
Well, it's convertible at $79 a share, I believe, and the interest is 1%. So everybody,
I would argue that one, brother.
Everybody can have their own opinion, but I mean, I'll take anybody want to give me $800 million convertible 4 years from now at 1% interest? I'll take it.
Yeah. Especially, look at how much money we all have lost. I bet you we could put it together. But whoever that convertible debt person was, they did it at $79 a share. What was Marathon today? What they close at, Tom?
They're in the $3 range.
Yeah, so they're down, what, $75, $76?
But here's the kicker. they're probably gonna, and I shouldn't say probably, as they sit here at $3.42, there's a reasonable chance those people are going to convert that debt to equity 2 years from now. As hard as that is to believe, right? Because that's a 25x from here. But
and then they just get back to where even.
Right, then they got all.
Yeah.
Then it was just raising equity at $79 a share.
And how much did they raise?
It was like $700 million.
And I mean, who is going to get somebody $700 million on a signature bond? You know what I mean? On their signature, saying, "Oh, here we," and I bet you there's no PG on that as personal guarantee. There's no PG on this stuff.
Not on a public company.
No.
The best they'll.
No.
Yeah, they're.
The best they got is some machines that would be worth nothing if. So that also brought up a very interesting point when Tom and I were talking, and that in business, no matter how well you plan for a business, it never goes the way you plan it. So, because I've been saying that lately, I've been running my business. I'm playing baseball with one arm tied behind my back, and that's the hardest thing to play in baseball. But think about this. You should always, even with stock and when you're doing your investment, you should always have a most likely, a worst case, and a best case. But here's my question. Would you put your worst case where these miners are today, Tom?
Well, as you know, I try to do a worst case, most likely, best case scenario, and then for business purposes, I try to do a break-even scenario. That doesn't really make sense when trading stocks, so I don't do that. But this was worse than yes, I did a worst case scenario, and this is worse than my worst case scenario that I laid out at the beginning of this year. So I missed. I mean, that's all you can say. I can give 1,000 reasons why, but I missed. This was worse than my worst case scenario.
Why didn't you tell me to sell? Unbelievable. Why didn't you tell me to close out that freaking account?
Which account? Oh, you wanted to harvest.
I'm going to tell you guys where
tax
we are.
Harvest.
I'm going to tell you where you are. It was just 10 grand. I don't care. Anybody want to take a guess?
Well, I gave him a general ballpark a few minutes ago. Yeah, I wasn't looking at the account, so I didn't know the exact number, but I gave him a ballpark.
What was your number?
I believe we're down over 80%.
83.7 to be exact. It's really easy to figure out from 10,000.
See the
$1,670.
And I didn't have a single position that I took in there that had a good year. And because I averaged in the first 5 or 6 weeks of the year, and then the 10K challenge, like I set it up, unfortunately, this was the worst year you could ever possibly do that. Everything finished down dramatically. There was almost no place to hide. Had I been Jeff, I would have picked some supermarkets and maybe been okay. I did not think the small cap high growth stocks coming into 2022 had already been totally destroyed. So, usually there's a rotation at some point. Well, from that point where they were totally destroyed, most of them are now down another between 50 and 90% from that point where I thought they were already oversold. So I was wrong.
I got a great little, let's do a little thing real quick. We'll go through everything that you have in here and what you think prediction for 2023 will be, okay? Okay, for example, CleanSpark. We bought CleanSpark at, it says it's $2.04. We paid $6.24. Do you think we'll get back to $6.24 in the year 2023?
Yes.
You do?
I do.
Okay.
Now, we've already shown what my predictions are worth, but yes. I believe that CleanSpark
how much more rocky road do you see in front of us?
I feel like they've got another quarter where they can mess around with us. Here's the thing. Here's what I'll just give you a heads up on my view of 2023. They have beaten up the small cap stocks. It's just trying to get blood from a stone. There's really very little left. You know, when you've made, let's take for instance Marathon. They were a $7.5 billion company. Well, they got them down to $300 million. Is there really anything left for them to take at that point? They've already taken $7 billion out of that market cap. So do they want to try to do that, or do they want to go to a Apple or a Microsoft where there's still trillions of dollars left and try and get, a couple $100 billion out of there? So that's what I think is going to happen. And at some point, when the Fed is done doing what they're doing, this year was all about the Fed. I could not have told you on the first day of the year that the Fed was going to have their most aggressive year of raising rates in 50 years. So, again, if there's just it is what correct? It is. Oh, yeah, correct? It's not even close. Paul Volcker was the last one that raised rates at a rate like this. We've been at close to zero interest rate for 20 years.
Do you think, and this is not politics, but this is just a question, do you think if there was a different administration that things would have been different?
I don't think things would have been that much different for the stock market. I think the inflation, if you guys remember, everybody in the Treasury, everywhere, everybody's favorite word was transient.
Inflation.
Right, inflation's transient. Well, what does that mean? Because I don't think it means what they think it means. So they were just dead wrong on that. So they were going to have to. The only difference would have been they would have had to start raising. They should have started raising rates. They should have got out ahead of this. Instead, they've been chasing it. So either way, they were going to have to raise interest rates, and they're not done. But they will be done because there's only so far we can go before the housing market goes into a full-blown depression that makes the stock market look like a joke. So there is a limit on what they can do raising rates, in my opinion, and we're getting close to that. So I think by the end of the first quarter, we will have seen a signal by the Fed that they've done all the rate hikes they're going to do, and that's going to be the beginning. And really, more so than the rate hikes, if you guys remember, in the U.S. here, they were just raining money for several years. It was like stimulus check, another stimulus check, more money, and that was all part of the quantitative easing that they were doing, and that caused a bubble in everything, I guess, really, but the stock market obviously in specific. And now, they switched from quantitative easing to quantitative tightening and raising rates, the most aggressive they've ever done, in the last 50 years. So, yeah, that's a formula for a very bad year in the stocks. But most of that is in the rearview mirror. And although everybody keeps debating, are we going to go into a recession? Everybody already knows you can call this whatever you want. We've been in what I'm calling a recession for quite some time now. So, that's built into the stock market.
Okay, next one. You ready for the next one?
I'm
ready. Next one is Bitfarm. We purchased Bitfarm at $2.80, currently trading at 44 cents. We are down 85% on that.
Yeah, and at $2.80. If you would have told me that was a bad deal, it's incredible. It's mind-boggling to me. Somebody, or I think Sour Melon Gaming said, it's just unbelievable that Bitfarms and I think they were talking about maybe Hut was under $1. Yeah, that was worse than my worst case scenario by a lot. So, but there's no way I was going to sell it. But the problem in that portfolio was I couldn't dollar cost average in throughout the year. So that's what we bought it for, and that's where it sits. So, now you either got to sell it at a loss or wait for it to come back. And again, I expect that one to come back and go way past that.
Should we put in enough money to get it to 10,000 again and try it again? See if we can get that to 20.
We can try to, instead of starting a brand new one, let's not leave that left for dead. I think that's a good idea. Let's take take two. Take
So
two
it's
on the
only-
10K.
It's 8,300, 8,350.
And it will be a different, I can tell you guys right now, it's going to be 2023, especially in the Bitcoin mining sector. It's just going to be a different, well, it's going to be similar to 2022 to start out with. So I will be taking a different strategy for trading in that. Right? We haven't had a year like this. I'm mostly a buy and hold trader, and I know Alex, who I just saw, said something. Oh, and hold on. I couldn't disagree more with you, Tom. This administration destroyed the middle class. Well, the middle class has been destroyed, Alex. So I'm not. You're not going to get an argument from me on that one. There's no question about it. My point was more that interest rates were going up, no matter which administration was in. But yes, I do. I mean, this has been brutal on the middle class in historic ways that I don't even think everybody really understands yet. Just how difficult this was and is going to be to get out of.
Okay, let's move on because we got a lot of stuff to cover. You got a lot of stocks. NNDM, Nano Dimensions, I believe that is, right?
Nano Dimensions, that's another one. I think that's
you
the
paid. Hey, this is probably the least amount we lost money on. We bought it at $269.94, and it's currently at $2.30. We're down 14%. What do you think?
We're down 14% on that one. That's another one I would dollar cost average into. They have, I believe they still have twice as much cash in the bank and no debt than their total market cap. So
in theory, if they could shut the company down and pay double the amount of
they
their
could give
stock
it.
price.
That's exactly right.
Okay.
So to me, that's, it didn't, obviously, this is not a small cap, high growth stock environment, and that's what that company is. But they're also basically a bank. They got $1 billion in the bank, and it would take them, 30 or 40 years to run through it. So they're making strategic purchases. I think they actually had a really good year, but still even with a good company on a good year, they're down 14%. That's probably as good. There's not too many companies that did that well. So
Yeah, really. Okay, next one is Curiosity Stream. You bought it at $4.34. It's $1.14.
yeah, that stock has gotten wrecked. I will say I have lost a lot of confidence in Curiosity Stream. The entire streaming world in 2022 got decimated. So,
So you wouldn't double your position in that one?
I would probably switch to Paramount.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yes. So I have much more confidence in Paramount right now than I do in Curiosity Stream. So that's
this not the next one's not an interesting one, but the one after that's really interesting. Okay, the next one is HUT. We bought it at $3.43, and it closed today at 85 cents.
we bought it, and I thought I was getting the deal of the century. I waited a month to buy those. So those are lower prices than they would have been. So I really, at that time, I thought $3 or some change for HUT. Wow, we're gold. I mean, it had just been at $16 not too long ago, a few months before that. So, an opportunity to snap it up at 3 looked good. It does not look as good now at 85 cents.
Why do you think big money comes in and takes out a sector like crypto and for an example, Bitcoin? Why do you think that happens?
Well, a lot of things happened this year. There was a confluence of events, including, a lot of ESG stuff and there are a lot of crises in the crypto universe. But big money is there's no. It's just, to them, this is just money, and it's just, I'll call it a game. If there's a weakness, they'll exploit it. So there was weakness here. And this is what they did. If they can short a stock into If they see a company where if they short heavy, they can drive them out of business, they'll do it. So if your company's not strong enough to withstand that, this is what happens. And in this industry, they took the whole thing out, all of it.
So you remember how Sam Bankman-Fried got out here? They said on $250 million bond. Well, no, wait until you hear the story. Everybody went with that story and believed that's what really happened. There's no money put up. They put their, the normal, they signed their deeds for their house, and then some mystery person signed, but no money was put up.
Yeah,
No
somebody
$250 million was put up, is what I'm saying.
Somebody came in and guaranteed the bond and secured it, but not.
And I've never seen anybody. So he's in California. Rough life he's having. AYRO. What's that?
Arrow. There's another one that I would double down on Arrow.
You bought it at 80 cents. It's at 38.
Right. So they have, I'm going to go and show you. They got it's at 38 cents and they got $1 of cash per share. So, and again, no debt. So I'm going to look at the exact numbers because that's just off the top of my head, but that's not.
Just so you know, you got $68 that is available as cash.
Oh, baby. Hey, listen, that'll get us an awful lot of shares of Bitfarms at this point. So I'm going to take a shortcut and cheat. They do a little summary down here on Yahoo. They have $55 million of cash. They have $1.49 per share of cash. You can see their debt is essentially zero, less than $1 million. So if this was trading at $1.50, it would be trading just at its cash. It's trading at 38 cents. There's no logic to this. Right? Look at the enterprise value in here. This is a $15 million market cap with a negative $38 million enterprise. And this is one of the phenomenons, and I've been looking at this stuff for a long time. I defy you to find 10 more of those in the entire stock market. And prior to this last year, I defy you to find 5 ever. This is a very rare circumstance where you have a company with this much cash, and it represents a cash runway. It's not that they have cash, but, even though it's more than their stock is worth, it's only a 3-month runway. So you will see a situation where that happens, a 3-month or 6-month runway. So it's just delaying the inevitable, and they're going out of business. That's not the case here at all. So this is another company that's just gotten washed away. And I'll tell you, I'll show you my watch list. This watch list got hit. This is my watch list of EV, electric vehicle, and related. So EV cars, batteries, charging stations. This list on the average, the big ones are up here at the top. These are the larger cap. These are down 60 or 70 or 80%. And then the rest of these are down 90 to 95%. So this list looks just like the Bitcoin mining list. This list got destroyed. There are multiple companies here that have more cash than market cap.
So which industry is going to last longer? The Bitcoin miners? Which one's going to be the Bitcoin miners or EV?
Which one's going to come around first?
Yeah,
if ever. I mean, I would put. I think there's on both of these lists. There's a lot of winners and a lot of losers.
Yeah, but isn't the EV sector huge? Take Tesla out of it, and isn't it like billions and billions of dollars?
Yeah, I mean and even Tesla's down like $700 billion from its high, but yes, these are all of these are multi-billion-dollar companies. Rivian, Lucid, Neo, Xpeng, Li Automotive. Even Fisker is, I think, still $3 or $4 billion.
So what you're saying is that the big money could go after EVs next year.
They went after them this year.
Yeah, but they still have billions of dollars to go.
So let's see. This is now a $2.2 billion market cap company.
What did it get up to?
Its 52-week high is 18, but it did get higher than that. If we look at if this thing will show up, or I'll go to TradingView if it doesn't. So this, kind of peaked at that time when this was that period, December 2020, January and February 2021. That was a bubble in these types of stocks. So this ran up to $28.50. And now it's at $7. So this one really, compared to all the rest of them, this is not that bad. Obviously, it's down drastically, but there's still $2 billion left. But I'm saying, why go after this $2 billion when you could go after this $1.8 trillion? Right? On the $2 billion, you got to knock 50% out of there to even make it worth your, on the $2 billion, which is Fisker, to even make it worth your time. On
So
this,
you think they're going to come after Microsoft and Apple hard?
I think there's 10-ish companies that are going to, and that's why 2023 is going to look like it's even worse, but it's really not going to be worse. The Dow Jones did not get taken out the way the rest of the indexes are. So they're ripe still for the picking. They could get hit hard. There's a lot of market cap. Think about it. If you're going after money, are you going to go after like the tiniest little stack of money or the gigantic stack of money? Right? They went after all the low-hanging fruit, the easy money, the companies. They went after the companies that were pre-revenue or pre-profit, and they were speculative. So those are always the first thing that get taken out in a bear market. So, they did that. But now down 90, 95, 99%. I just don't think there's a lot more money to be made on Wall Street attacking a company down 95%.
Do you think they make more money shorting stocks than they do longing?
Well, it depends on the year. I think they make money going up, they make it back going down, and that's why you see this rotation, and that's why I don't know when it's going to happen, and I don't know which ones are going to go out of business in the middle, but there will be a rotation. So they knocked everything down. They'll wait long enough for everybody to absolutely give up whatever last breath of hope they have, and then they'll revitalize. Boom. I can tell you, they already did this to Microsoft. I remember when Microsoft was stuck at $23. For like 3 years, it was dead money. Now it's at $240, and it was at $340. So around we go. So that's what I'm expecting.
So that's very interesting, Tom. Sorry. I've been yawning a lot. I didn't get to bed until 1, and I'm dedicated every day to working out now.
Alex is saying, add Amazon, Meta, Apple, Microsoft, Google, still to see the wrath. Right, Alex, you're saying exactly what I'm thinking. So there's a lot. Those things are still trading at, elevated. I'm sorry, Microsoft at almost a 26 PE. That was great when the money was flowing and the Fed was printing, a couple $1 trillion every time you turned around, but that doesn't fly in this market. So I feel like those things can still get pulled back a long way and still be at reasonable PEs and reasonable market caps. So I agree with what Alex just said. That his list is pretty much my list, and then there's a few more past that are just like it, not quite to that scale, but that's where the easy money is in 2023. And if 2023 is like any of the last 10 years, you're going to see person after person after person come out and say, "Oh, Apple's going to be the best stock of the year for 2023." So I that would be my prediction, is that's going to be everybody's prediction, and I would steer clear.
Oh, Kevin's back.
Kevin, welcome back. We missed you.
Oh, hang on. Somebody was just saying something about the EVs in Montana we get a lot of snow and it's negative 35 degrees here and no one drives EV vehicles. Did you hear, has everybody heard about what happened in Buffalo and EV vehicles? They had a problem. And you know what? Until that's fixed, we have a serious problem in EV.
We were watching a thing.
It was so funny. They found out that they couldn't heat their car as they charged it. These poor people are freezing their asses off.
Yeah, that was brutal. And there's places, I mean, you know, we don't live in one of those places, but there's places where negative 30 is what happens, you know, in the winter. So that's we grew up in the cold, not that cold though.
It was so funny. It's at the windows inside all frosted over. They were sitting out there for hours. I mean, here they think they're helping the environment. And I'm sorry, I don't want to get into that one, but I don't think it's happening. I'm sorry.
Alex is saying the shorts made huge profits this year,
and
that
did
is
you
a
hear
fact.
why they can't idle? Oh, I'm not gonna. Sorry, I put my sign up. I'm not saying nothing.
There's a I could tell you, but I'm not going to.
There's a reason why they can't idle.
Listen, something was wrong. I just go back to this list. If EVs are the future, then why is every single stock destroyed?
Right.
There's none that escaped. Every one has been totally destroyed. So that's all I can say.
I mean, I'm sorry, but they're all-wheel drive, Tom.
The what?
They're all-wheel drive, and then
Oh, nice. That's
and
key.
can you imagine the ones that are catching on fire because of the battery getting so cold and then heating up? And I hear that's happening all the time.
These are.
Yeah, it was negative 35 degrees Celsius for the last 2 weeks here in, what's this, Banff?
Wow.
Wow.
That's brutal.
Getting sued by the EV market. I'm just telling you information that I see on YouTube. They're the ones doing it. I'm not the one doing it, okay? I'm just saying these guys are doing all these videos about their cars.
Allegedly. Allegedly.
Yeah.
These viewpoints expressed on this program are not necessarily
Tom's. No, I just find it interesting that, here, look at, I mean, let's be honest. We all want to do stuff to help and save the environment. I mean, come on. I mean, but when you have to freeze to death to do it, I mean, is it really helping? I'm sorry. I mean, but think about it. They could have, like, put stores there. They could have done so much more instead of just putting these supercharged stations out in the middle of, you know, these plazas where there's no restaurants, there's no freaking, you know, bathrooms or nothing.
well, and you know, I'm looking at my list here. The EV charging station companies have gotten decimated. Decimated. Volta's at 35 cents. Blink's at $10. That's near its all-time low. Beam actually, and that's kind of a double play. That's a more complicated one. The Beam's actually doing okay, in my opinion. But ChargePoint, EVgo, let's look at ChargePoint. This is the big dog in this space.
Who, ChargePoint?
Yeah, by far.
They didn't say it was ChargePoint, and it wasn't Tesla too.
So
because I guess Tesla's figured out how to put something around their batteries. They preheat their batteries in this cold weather before they allow them to receive. Which, by the way, no one's ever told anybody that, because it added like 45 minutes in charge time for that to preheat. Sorry.
yeah, that was in the thing that we saw. They couldn't even start charging the battery until this preheat process worked. So, you know, they were still at zero for, I think
And
it
I
was
bet you
45 minutes.
that's not factored into the equation. You know?
Darren
See, there's
is
a great
saying-
example.
Sorry, George. Derek's saying in Europe last week, charging stations had 3-hour waits.
Did you see it in San Francisco and San Diego? They have hours and hours of wait time to get to them.
All right,
All I know is when I go to get gas, I usually, unless there's a hurricane, we don't wait at all.
Alex just got into EVCO, so first I want to see where this thing was. It's trading at $9.53, so it did get as low as a little bit, actually all the way down to $8 at one point, but it's still very near its lows. And at its high, this was a $40 stock. So, that's down 75%. Let's look at EVCO. And this was everybody's like, this company's great. This is the popular stock. So, yeah, and again, look, the January 1st, 2021. So you guys all remember December 2020, January 2021, February 2021, things got to a ridiculous, ridiculous place. So it's almost not even fair. Yes, this was at almost $21, but that was overblown. But these numbers here at $12, between $12 and $13 right here, this was in 2022. So now it's at $4.47. I'm tempted to buy this one. These guys got cash in the bank. I like this one, Alex.
I think what Tom always is looking at is like companies that aren't going out of business because they're going to have a cash problem in the next 3 to 6 months.
Right, because capital has dried up. So right now, the first thing, so that's not my lifetime investing strategy, but right now in this bear market, you're not raising any money. When your stock's down 70, 80, 90%, you're not raising money, you're not raising equity, and there's really you're not borrowing money either. The money dries up, the capital's gone. So these companies are stuck with whatever they got, or they can dilute themselves into non-existence just to survive. So either way, they're a stock not worth having when that happens.
Do you know of any IPOs that are going to happen next year? And if so, which is going to be the biggest?
I don't know the answer to that question, and I know there were a bunch of big IPOs that were put on hold. I wouldn't do an IPO anytime soon. I mean, this is just not the environment.
So the next 6 months, you think?
I would hope so. I really think by June, July, the Fed's going to be lowering rates. We're going to be back into quantitative easing instead of tightening, and the stock market will have taken whatever additional pain is to come, and there's going to be opportunities. But I do think 2023, much like 2022 was, although in 2022 there was almost nowhere to hide. So, some people did find some nice opportunities, but they were very few and very far between. I think 2023 is going to be more of a pick the winner year. There's going to be winners and losers, and there will be opportunities, but it's all going to be all about due diligence and being in the right stock and being patient. Some of this is being patient because, I mean, my strongest conviction is still in some of these Bitcoin miners, so, there's people that probably laugh at me right now for that. But it's true. I added to them today. So Alex is saying Eve goes at support with plenty of upside. So yeah, I mean that's, and I like this. I like all these companies. Now I know Alex does a lot of swing trading and he's got some successful strategies and had a lot of success in that. So these are the types of trades that are to be made. These are the opportunities that exist, I think, that are going to exist in 2023. It's the difference between an EVGO maybe and a charge point, or an EVGO and a Volta. I don't know that Volta's going to make it out of 2023, even with the government raining money down upon these companies. So you say.
Oh, Mattress Firm.
Everybody, if you could remember, please to smash the like button. It helps the stream.
I was going to say Ripple, by the way.
Ripple?
IPO. I was going to say the biggest IPO next year.
Oh, boy.
Ripple.
Well, they got a few speed bumps. A few speed bumps in the way between now and then. A few matters they have to take care of. Patient Bill saying a huge misallocation of wealth only allowed because of money printing. Yeah, I mean, the money printing problem was real, and it really did not help, back to who I think it was Alex's point, it did not help the middle class. The middle class, by and large, is much worse off right now than they were a year ago and 2 years ago. And now, we're left holding the bag. Look at MAXR. Let's see. Something's going on. Who said this? ID Neon. What are we looking for? Am I in the wrong place?
I'm in the wrong place.
I ask myself that all the time. This looks like it hit its 52-week high today. So this looks like a winner. A mattress. Oh, you already talked about this. Is IPOing. Buy puts on that, said Kevin.
Ripple.
I mean, IPOs, if you look at what's happened to IPOs from their IPO price over the last few years.
Yeah, I know they've been getting destroyed.
It's just been the worst money you could put out there. And then they started with this, we're going to let you even get in early on IPOs. Through several different venues. And that didn't help. Those were all bad.
Couldn't they get sued for that, for not being an accredited investor?
No, it's still, you're buying a retail stock.
But are you?
I mean, then when it's
Epic Games, here's a great one. Epic Games is going to go public, right? At some point in time.
Okay.
And they have raised a ton of money, but they raise money from just, everyday mom and pop people. Okay, it's legal to do that?
No.
I thought
it's not legal to do that.
They do that now. There's this company called LINTQ.
LINTQ.
And they raise money for smaller, you can go do $5,000 or $2,000 and buy.
I'm not sure what that company does, but if you're a private company and you solicit money.
No. They're not soliciting.
Uncredited investors, then
yeah, I thought that was illegal, but I don't know. There must be some way they get around it.
Yeah, some people find a workaround for everything, but in general, that is. So ID Neon is saying Amazon was down 90% in 2000 bear market. Look at it now. Right. I mean, if you would have held your Amazon as hard as that was, you'd be rich if you did nothing else except just hold your Amazon for the last 20 years.
Uh-oh, there's an earthquake.
Where?
We're here in Florida. Do you feel it or no?
No, I don't feel it.
You don't see my table? Earthquake!
I'm reading I'm trying to catch up on the chat.
Haven't owned a mattress store for 9 years. Had 10 stores at one point. Mattress industry is not a great place to be.
All right.
What is
some first-hand? It's not insider, but first-hand information.
I always wanted to know that too. By the way, if the mattress store was a good place to be,
I don't know. I don't know. All the mattress stores are. Everything's always 80% off. If you act now, so I don't know what the deal is.
Yeah, Apple has not bought any Bitcoin. Tim Cook, right? Tim Cook?
Yeah.
Has he bought any Bitcoin?
No, none of the big guys have bought any Bitcoin, and that's Patient Bill, and he asked that question earlier, and I think they're all waiting. If they were smart, they'd get in ahead. If they had any guts, they would get in ahead of the game. But they're all waiting for
the green light.
They're waiting for regulations. They're waiting for regulations. They're waiting to see the dust settle, and then they're going to get in. But to me,
Patient Bill says Core just got delisted.
So they'll get relisted under their bankruptcy ticker, I think is what happens. So
Is that CORFU?
it might as well be.
Sorry. Kevin, I kind of own a moving company too, by the way. I have a pack out company.
And Kevin's asking, can Core come back after being delisted, or is the game over? I mean, for Core Scientific, I would say take a look, and it's not apples to apples, but take a look at what Voyager just went through over the last 6 months. And so Voyager, they're,
Yeah.
they're...
You know what's fun? Is just to read the comments, guys. I really enjoy them, by the way.
Can you look at the Hut 8 shares outstanding chart?
Is it outstanding? Or is
It's-
it disappointing?
We're about to...
Outstanding.
Outstanding. We're about to find... I'm
Outstanding,
going to take this shortcut because this is usually reasonably accurate, although sometimes they're a few days behind. I don't know who works at Yahoo Finance, but they go through every single SEC filing and update these charts. It's unbelievable. This is not a paid sponsorship. I have no affiliation with Yahoo, but they have been... they're shockingly accurate. They're not perfect at all. I've found many, many mistakes, but I have on most platforms, as I'm sure you guys have as well. So it looks like they're just under 200 million shares outstanding for Hut 8. And then, yeah, Alex is saying CORZQ is the normal BK reorganization. So
I think they should do FU. That would be really funny.
I feel like people that own the stock would not find that as amusing as you do.
I own Core Scientific. I feel bad that I actually made money on Core Scientific.
Oh, you got out of that one at the right time. See, here's another. I'll tell you another one right here, and I bought some of this today. Hut 8, this market cap, this is roughly, and it's not exact, this is roughly equal to the amount of Bitcoin they have on their balance sheet.
Who's this?
This is Hut 8.
Oh.
So that's what their market cap is right now. So, essentially, effectively, they're kind of saying this company's worth zero. So I think this is a buying opportunity. But guess what? I thought it was a buying opportunity. We just went through the list of what I bought in January and February of 2022. I thought it was a buying opportunity back then at $3. So I don't think their story has changed. They have had a few things happen, but I don't think any of them fundamentally changed their story. And some of those things are good. They're in a dispute. They're in a power dispute, and about 25% of their exahash is not active. And that's indefinite. I don't know when or if. Thank you, Kevin, very much. Much appreciated. I don't know. That's just an indefinite situation. They're hoping. We talked to Sue, came on our channel and talked to us. So she feels that they're going to work that out and get that operation back up and running without having to shut it down and move all their miners somewhere else. And
why did the CFO get fired? Did anybody say or no? What's the inside scoop or no?
Is
he a little handsy?
I don't know why they changed CFOs, and it was,
I heard that guy is like his name is Charlie. And he's trying to have angels. I don't know what that means.
Oh, boy.
The guy who owns HUD. He's like,
no.
My name's Charlie, and I want to have a lot of angels. Charlie, angel.
I'll tell you, Hut is another one. I did not realize how many. I know Marathon is a very touchy subject. There are people that are absolutely committed to Marathon, and there are people that despise Marathon. And I know that. But I'm learning that HUT is starting to be the same way. I get some vicious comments regarding HUT. And so obviously there's a lot of emotion surrounding HUT as well. And
Are they paid actors?
might I say, some of them are not appropriate. So let's try and keep it to the financial related comments, if we could.
Are you talking to me?
Maybe.
Bueller.
So yeah, I don't know. I don't know
Oh
what
my
the hate
God,
is
that
out
was
there
funny.
for HUT. A lot of people hate HUT. I don't know what to say. I mean, I'm not one of those people. I bought some today, and also, HUT doesn't. I get all the time. I love these comments. Oh, how much did you get paid for this? It's like 0. You'll know if I have a paid video because I've only done it one time ever, and I said this is a sponsored video. So it's not confusing. So I love the slew of people who are always putting in the comments, nasty stuff about that as well.
Yeah, why do you think Patient Bill said Hive didn't report their holdings for November? Why do you think that is?
I don't know, but I think dodgy is the right word, Patient Bill, because this goes right to my point. If you don't report the information, the investing community is going to assume the worst. I'll tell you what I assume. It was bad news, and so they didn't tell us. They did have a sentence in there talking about how they sold some Bitcoin, but then they didn't tell us what their hodl position was, and they had told us that in every previous release. So that now becomes missing, conspicuously missing information. So I do think that was dodgy. If they sold all their Bitcoin, they should have just said, we sold all our Bitcoin. We're buying Bitcoin mining machines. We've got these Intel chips, and we got to build the machines, and so we sold our Bitcoin, and because that's what I assume. I don't know that that's true. I have no idea, but when they don't tell me, I assume that they sold somewhere between a lot and all of their Bitcoin if they didn't report it. So it would be nice if they would put out an extra press release. Frank, if you're out there, I think you should put out an extra press release and just say what your hodl position is. That way people know.
Or do your objections. You know what I object to?
Yes, I do.
Sorry, miners?
Miners must report their hodls every month. That's per Patient Bill in capital letters, so I said it with emphasis. Especially if you're already reporting it every month. When you go from reporting it to not reporting it, of course people are going to scratch their head and ask the question. Alex said, I agree, Bill, that's being kind. HUT 8 has increased their shares outstanding by a lot, and that is true. HUT 8 has, some of these companies increased their outstanding shares, and remember, HUT 8 has taken a hodl strategy, so this is another really big hot button issue. Some people think that's the greatest thing ever, and some people think it is the root of all evil. So HUT 8 has made up their mind. They're not selling their Bitcoin. And dilution is one of the byproducts of the fact that they got a stack of over 9,000 Bitcoin that they hold. But they did have to dilute their stock. I mean, the money has to come from somewhere. They do have secondary sources of revenue, so that bridges some of the gap, but not all of it. And really, right, they're not borrowing money, which I'm glad. I would much prefer people dilute stock than borrow money inside of the Bitcoin mining industry right now, because those companies that borrowed a lot of money are all on the verge of bankruptcy. So that's, Alex is saying they bragged on their hodl. Yeah, I mean, that's they're super crystal clear. This is not something they're gray about or wishy-washy about. They're holding their Bitcoin. They're bullish on Bitcoin. And their point is, you know what? Come the halving, we're going to get a lot less Bitcoin. By then, the difficulty level will have continued to increase. The reward is going to get cut in half. So I'd rather keep the 9,000 I got right now than try and recreate it, over time after a halving and all that. So we'll see who's right? I mean, if Bitcoin doesn't recover, then they guessed wrong. But, their theory is they're a Bitcoin mining company. Now, Bitfarms went so far as to go buy Bitcoin. So that did not necessarily make sense. And obviously everybody knows that played out very poorly for them. And I like Bitfarms, so I'm not bashing them. I my personal opinion, I like their company and I think they're going places. But they made a major, major financial misstep.
I will say one thing, Sour, which is still the best advice is the cost average in. But you got to remember, when was that? Was it in July? Right before Bitcoin plummeted. It was a long year, guys. We said you should take some profit. Do you remember that? You see, if you missed a stream, you might not have heard that advice.
Well, and we did this a couple of streams in a row. In August, It was clear we had an unbelievably nice rally, and it was time to take some profits. So, and we had one more mini rally after that.
Right. Yeah, I mean, everybody's different. And hindsight's always 20/20. And in this case, it's freaking dead on accurate.
Sour Melon Gaming, I almost did the exact same thing today. So she's saying that she's been following my dollar cost average talk, and she's been doing that for most of the year. But with Marathon in the low threes this week, let's just say I didn't use that technique, says Sour Melon Gaming. And I didn't do it, but I was so tempted. If you look, that's one of those pass-fail situations. If they don't fail, we're going to look back and go, I cannot believe Marathon was trading for $3. Now, obviously, if they fail, then it's not a good deal. But, and I really don't think they're going to fail. I don't. They're not one of my high conviction plays, but I don't think they're going to fail. But at $3, I do think we're going to look back. And it's not just that one, but they got hit so much harder than Riot. And, those two companies, although they have different business models, so there's no doubt they have been similar in market cap for years and more recently.
Galaxy. Oh wow. Sorry, Tom.
No, go ahead.
Hang on, before I miss, Chess Capital said, "What's your view of Stronghold?"
My view of Stronghold is it's a company we talk about on the channel a lot. I love what they're doing. I own a little bit of it, but it's more just as I would consider that as a high-risk alternative investment, in my opinion. But I do own some of it, and I just think because of what they're doing, money will show up and they will survive, is my belief. But, that's not based on anything other than just a gut feeling. And you remember Stronghold, George. You like those guys.
Oh, I love them. I think they're amazing. But I think what happened, I can't say. Never mind. Put the light up. I can't say anything. This year turned out to be more of what would be socially enlightening than anything else instead of making money. Is that a fair enough way to say?
I understand what you're saying.
Hopefully everybody else understands.
There's a series of
socially enlightening. But did you see Galaxy? I was asking you about Galaxy the other day, and they said it's a trade. Gorilla says it's a traded OTC in the Nasdaq. It's going to uplist.
Yeah, they're talking about uplisting. They trade on the Canadian exchange, the Toronto exchange, I think, and they're OTC here. And I did look at them, and I'm not done with my due diligence. But trust me, when they did what they did and bought, they're the guys who bought Helios from Argo blockchain. So I did take a close-up look at them, but I'm not done looking. I do like what I see. They have a very diverse offering of streams of revenue, and they're in a lot of stuff. I don't know if they're a black box. I haven't dug far enough to understand. Like, obviously, one of the main things they do is they're an exchange. So that always gives me some pause. But I don't know. I need to look into that more. But I definitely, let's say this. I think that belongs on everybody's watch list, and they should do some due diligence because that company is growing in every way you can imagine. So that could be a great investment. And I was going to add them to my list of Bitcoin miners, but even with all the Bitcoin mining stuff they just bought, that's still just a small piece of their business. So, like BitNile is the same way. You know, they're spread around 5 different lines of business. So, I don't mind having a little diversification. Hut 8 has some diversification, and somebody asked me, doesn't Hut 8 make enough money from their data centers? And the answer is, you know, they don't make enough to pay the bills. So that helps them reduce the amount of stock dilution that they have to do, because there is gross profit there to help pay some of the bills, but it doesn't get them all paid. So, you know, that's a secondary source of revenue, but we asked Sue straight out on the channel, do you guys consider yourself a Bitcoin mining company, or are you moving elsewhere? And she said they're Bitcoin mining company first, and they have very strong conviction in Bitcoin.
Conviction.
Brett's saying if a few miners merge, could be a good picture. I mean, some of these guys, this is what I'm saying. Like, every time you think somebody's going under, by all rights, Argo blockchain appeared to be completely done. I mean, they put a press release out saying they were going to file Chapter 11, and somebody came in, Galaxy Digital, and, you know...
So I have a question. What if that was all planned? You know how my brain works.
Well, who... planned by Galaxy Digital?
Yep.
Because, I mean...
Yep.
Argo didn't win... The only way that Argo, you could say, won is that they did not file for Chapter 11 this week. Because that's what was going to happen.
Galaxy came in and said, okay... You know, wow, it looks like you guys are rough, and they're already in talks, right? And they don't go ahead and nod, wink, wink, give them the money, but they know that they're going to do it. Wow, I really think you should let your shareholders know.
Well, I have no answer to that question.
I mean, I'm
hypothetically speaking.
No, I'm hypothesizing, okay? What I'm doing is I'm hypothesizing what I believe could have been the plan of the plan that wasn't executed, but it happened.
This is what happened. These are the facts as we know them to be.
But no, think about this. I was thinking about that with Core Scientific. You know, when did they know they were going bankruptcy? When did they know?
Here's the thing. You don't... For a lot of these companies, because remember, management is sitting there. You think those guys were just going home at 5 o'clock and having dinner and chilling and watching TV? The executives sit there and pull all-nighter after all-nighter trying to put a plan together to move forward. So, you know, it's not that they're blind, but they continue to feel like, well, I still have option, you know, Z. By this point, maybe they're on option Z, but they're still trying and scrambling.
It's option Q, by the way.
Option Q. That's apparently correct. That's right. So
it's option Q, Tom.
You know, it may
Barry,
be.
I'm being called out on something. I got to talk about it.
Oh, do it.
The moon.
The moon.
Oh no! Oh, I thought you said where is he going with his moonlight? Oh, I thought you meant moon, Barry. I thought you meant with my moon prediction. It's my mood. Sorry, I got up and turned on my light. Sorry. It was getting a little dark.
Hey, Manuel. Manuel said he's still holding Bitfarms. Should have sold at $8, but kept buying more and more. Well, I did the same thing, as you know. So, and then all the best in 2023 to you and your family. And right back at you, Manuel. Thanks for being a regular viewer and for joining us on the chat. And thank everybody, thanks for joining us on the chat. I always like to say that because you guys take your time out to come and we always have an excellent live stream. So, and you guys are
most excellent.
We have, George and I talk all the time. We have the best subscribers
The best,
Period.
Jerry.
The best.
The best, Tom.
We do. We have a lot of good discussions, even in
Yeah, I
our
think so.
comments section of the videos. We have a lot of good discussions, and everybody doesn't agree on everything, but that's okay, right? I mean, that's how this works. But there's a few nobody on these streams, but there's a few bad actors out there that just leave ridiculous
When did
comments.
that happen? The CEO left Bitfarms at the bottom of the market.
While they didn't leave Bitfarms, they're still on the board of directors. They've been grooming this other person for a couple years now to be CEO. So I feel like that was an inevitable step. That was his third or fourth promotion since he got there 2 years ago or less. And effectively, I think he was the COO and president, and he got promoted to CEO. And one of the founders moved just into a position on the board of directors. So that's a very natural, normal thing. I did not think twice about that. For me, that's my opinion. I mean, you'll see that happen all the time. That's how these companies do it. They don't want to just have to go on a CEO search and fire their CEO. So they bring somebody in that they think is CEO material. They make them learn every piece of the business inside and out. And then when it's time, they get their turn.
But I hope Marathon did that. Sorry. I shouldn't say this stuff out loud. God.
I don't think Fred's going anywhere.
I know, but if you just know, like, remember the whole construction problem, and then the whole exahash problem, and then the whole plugging the miners in, and then the whole electrical problem. Remember that one? That was another big one.
It's been one thing after the next for Marathon, and that is my hesitancy. But by the same token, like you said, they raised a whole lot of money at the right time. And one of the things I'd like to see, I really want to see them get to that 23 exahash, because right now there's still $600 or $700 million of deposits sitting on their balance sheet. And that makes me nervous. So, if 4 months down the road, those are not sitting in deposits and those are machines that are delivered, I would feel better about that. Alex wants to know, where do you buy your crystal ball? If I had one, I wouldn't tell you, because you don't want to buy it wherever I'm buying my crystal ball, because clearly mine does not work. Patient Bill saying Mara's not going to fail. They have been tapping the ATM. Right, so they as do almost all of these Bitcoin miners, they have an at the market, and Marathon still does have some market cap left. There's a bunch of these companies that are so far gone, they can't even really use their at the market.
Hi, guys. Dude, it's almost 6 o'clock, Tom.
Oh, it is?
Oh my goodness, this is flu. We didn't start until 4:30, so.
Oh, that's right.
I'm getting poked.
All right, well, let's. Oh, I'm so far behind on the chat.
Do you want a good joke to end the year on?
Let's have a end of the year joke.
It's not a good joke.
Is it inappropriate joke, or you can't even say it?
Yeah, I can't.
If you're questioning it at all, I would withhold. Thanks, everybody.
So, real quick before I go, Tom.
Yeah.
What do you think Bitcoin is going to do in the next 6 months? Not the next year, just 6 months.
I think in the next 6 months, I think the first quarter is going to be a bumpy road. And I think they're going to keep beating everything up for a little while. I don't even want to say I've lost the right to even say relief rally. Right. So I think one will happen, but at this point, I called a relief rally, and it did not happen. We did get 2 relief rallies in 2022. I thought we were going to get a third somewhere in the fourth quarter. It never happened. I think, in my opinion, FTX train wrecked that situation, and it got cut off, and we went the other way. But I think by the second quarter, I think we're going to start moving in the right direction, in my opinion, in Bitcoin. And then here's the other thing. It's been all negative catalysts for the Bitcoin miners. So they are oversold drastically versus Bitcoin. So for the ones that survive, when Hut 8 does put out a press release that they made an acquisition or whatever the case may be, don't be surprised to see some dramatic upside. So I think we have a lot of dramatic downside and upside coming over the next 3 to 6 months. And that's what I did a video trying to say is there's all these things are at such low market caps that any meaningful move in either direction, you know, you could see 50 and 100% moves. Who was it? Last week somebody was up, I think, almost 300% in one day. Now they didn't settle there by the end of the day; they pulled back. But that's the kind of moves, you know. If you were a trader that day, those are the kind of moves that I would expect in the first half of the year in 2023. Obviously, we're hoping for a good 2023, but I'm certainly not calling that at the beginning of the year right now.
Well, thank you for that. And I'm going to take off, everyone.
All right, and I am going to do
Happy New Year.
To answer Mark, I'm going to do a list of my top 4 miners this weekend. So I'll let everybody know. You can stay tuned for that. I'll put that out before. I wanted to do that before 2023 happens, so you can expect that over the weekend. Thank you, everybody. George is gone. Thank you, George. Patient Bill saying Core will survive and existing shareholders will own 3% of the new company. BlackRock and other creditors will own 97. That could be exactly what happens. But I think if you do the math, I think that 3% is not worth holding on to the stock, in my opinion. So we'll see. All right, so Happy New Year, everybody. Happy New Year. Is it New Year's Eve yet? Happy New Year. No, not yet. Tomorrow, Happy New Year's Eve. Happy New Year, everybody. Be safe. Everybody have fun. Thank you again, everybody, for joining us on the live stream, for leaving comments, and for watching. I want to thank everybody for a successful 2022. From my perspective, for the channel, this was a good year. We grew a lot, and that's thanks to all of you guys. So I appreciate that very, very much. XRP video this year. Yes, Barry. XRP video is going to come in under the wire this year. I was prepping that last night. And I've had a screen open for a month and a half with like 20 windows open so I'm gonna try to get that out before the end of the year because that's the one I'm behind on. So I will do that. And if you didn't watch the MP video, I would check that out. That is another winner. Our members pick a video every week, and I just, from my perspective, every single one of them has been a company that I think has been fascinating and at least a company worth putting on a watch list. So, and I'm considering buying a few. So great. It's great stuff. All right. So thank you everybody very much. And I guess we will see you in the new year.